before you hand in that retirement notice, I want you to check 5 things, because I have watched good people retire 6 months too early and spend the next decade wishing they had waited. Here is the good news. If you see 1 or 2 of these warning signs, it is not a disaster. It just means give yourself a little more runway. But the first one is the sign almost everybody misses, and it has nothing to do with how much money you have saved. Let me show you all 5, calmly, and exactly how to fix each one. I'm Daniel Brooks. This is the Money Desk. And the usual honesty first. I'm not a financial advisor, and nothing here is personal advice. This is a readiness checklist, the kind of thing a good friend who happens to read the retirement research would walk you through at the kitchen table. Everything with a number attached comes from Fidelity, Social Security, or the planners who study this, and the sources are under the video. And I want to set the tone before we start, because this topic can scare people, and fear is the last thing you need when you're making a big decision. Seeing a warning sign here does not mean you can't retire. It means you found something worth fixing before you go, while you still have income coming in to fix it with. That is a gift, not a verdict. So let's walk through the 5, and for each one, I'll give you the plain fix. One quick thing before sign number 1, because it changes how you hear all of this. Most retirement videos are built to make you feel behind. That is not what this is. The truth is, almost nobody hits every single one of these perfectly, and that's fine. If you're carrying 1 warning sign, you tune it up and go. 2 or 3, and it might be worth giving yourself another 6 or 12 months, not because retirement is out of reach, but because a little more runway makes the landing so much smoother. So as we go, don't keep score like it's a test you're failing. Keep score like a pilot running a pre-flight checklist. The pilot isn't scared of the checklist. The checklist is exactly what lets them relax once they're in the air. That's what these 5 are for. Let's start with the one people miss most. Here is the sign almost everybody misses, and it has nothing to do with your savings balance. It is the gap between the day you retire and the day Medicare starts. Medicare, the federal health coverage most people count on in retirement, does not begin until you turn 65, not 62. 65. So if you retire at 62, 63, or 64, there is a stretch of years where you are completely on your own for health insurance, and that coverage does not come cheap when you're buying it yourself. And here is the bigger picture that makes this so important. Fidelity runs the numbers on this every year, and their 2025 estimate is that a single 65-year-old will spend about $172,500 on health care over the course of retirement. For a couple, it's about $345,000, and that number does not even include long-term care, like a nursing home or in-home aid. Healthcare is quietly one of the biggest expenses of your entire retirement, and the years before Medicare are the most exposed of all. I think about a man I'll call Frank, and his story is a common one. Frank retired at 62, felt great about his nest egg, and completely forgot that he and his wife needed health coverage for 3 years before Medicare. When the first insurance quote came in, it was well over $1,000 a month for the 2 of them. That was money he had not budgeted, and it forced him to start pulling from savings faster than he ever planned, right at the start. It didn't ruin him, but it rattled a retirement that should have felt calm. So here's the fix, and it's very doable. Before you set a retirement date under 65, price out the bridge. Look at coverage through the health insurance marketplace, where your lower retirement income might actually qualify you for a subsidy. Look at whether you can stay on an employer plan for a while through COBRA or hop onto a spouse's plan. Then put that real monthly number into your budget before you retire, not after. Solve the gap on paper first, and this warning sign disappears. Sign number 2 is one of the most expensive misunderstandings in all of retirement, and it's completely fixable if you catch it early. A lot of people plan to turn on Social Security the very first moment they can, which is age 62. And I understand the instinct completely. It's your money, you paid in for decades, and a check now feels safer than a promise later. But here is what most people don't fully realize when they make that choice. For anyone born in 1960 or later, your full retirement age is 67. If you claim the moment you turn 62 instead, Social Security permanently reduces your monthly check by about 30%. Not for a year, not until 67. For the rest of your life. And if you're married, that lower amount can follow your spouse as a survivor benefit after you're gone. Let me make it real with round numbers. Say your full benefit at 67 would be $2,400 a month. Claim at 62, and it drops to roughly $1,680. That's about $720 a month, every month, gone for good. Over a long retirement, that is tens of thousands of dollars. On the other side, if you can wait past 67, your check actually grows by about 8% a year until 70. So the spread between claiming at the earliest moment and the latest is enormous. Now, I want to be fair because sometimes claiming early is genuinely the right call. If you have a serious health issue or you truly need the income to live, taking it at 62 can be the smart, sensible choice. This is not a rule that says wait no matter what. It's a warning sign that says do not flip that switch on autopilot. Know your number. So the fix is simple. Before you retire, go to sa.gov, log into your account, and look at what your benefit actually is at 62, at 67, and at 70. See the real difference in your own dollars. Then decide on purpose, not by reflex. That 1 hour of looking can be worth more than any other hour of retirement planning you'll do. Sign number 3 is the one the professionals worry about most, and it has a slightly technical name, so let me translate it into plain English right away. Planners call it sequence of returns risk. Here's what it actually means. The order in which good and bad market years show up matters enormously in retirement, and it matters most in the first few years. If the market takes a big drop right after you retire, while you're pulling money out to live on, you can do damage to your savings that the portfolio never fully recovers from, even if the market bounces back later. Why is that? Because when you sell investments while they're down to cover your grocery bill, that money is gone. It's not there to grow when the market recovers, and every withdrawal from a shrunken account takes a bigger bite. The people who study this find that negative returns in the first several years of retirement are behind a large share of the plans that eventually run dry. The first 5 years are simply the most fragile stretch your money will ever go through. Let me give you a simple example just to picture it, and these are round hypothetical numbers, not a promise. Imagine two people who both retire with $1 million, both take out $40,000 a year to live, and both, over 10 years, earn the exact same average return. The only difference is the order. One hits bad years first, then good ones. The other gets the good years first. A decade later, the person who got the good years first can be sitting on hundreds of thousands more than the person who got the bad years first, with the same average return and the same withdrawals. Same everything, except the timing. That's how much sequence matters, and it's why the first few years deserve real respect. Here's the part that feels unfair, and why it's a warning sign and not a personal failure. Whether you retire into a good market or a bad one is mostly luck. You don't get to pick. But you can absolutely prepare for it so that a bad start doesn't sink you. So here's the fix, and it's about building a cushion. First, keep 1 to 2 years of spending money in cash or something very safe, so that when the market drops, you can live off that cushion instead of selling investments at the worst possible time. Second, stay flexible on withdrawals. In a down year, trimming your spending a little, skipping the big trip, protects the whole plan. And third, please don't walk into retirement with everything in stocks. A mix that includes some steadier holdings is what lets you sleep through a rough first year. Prepare for the fragile window, and it stops being a threat. Sign number 4 is more straightforward, but it quietly wrecks more retirements than people admit. It's walking into retirement still carrying high-interest debt. Think about what retirement actually is. You're trading a paycheck that grows and adjusts for a fixed income that mostly doesn't, and a credit card balance charging you 20%, or a personal loan, or a car loan you're stretching, does not care that you retired. That interest keeps compounding against you every single month, on an income that can't easily grow to outrun it. It's like trying to fill a bucket that has a hole in the bottom. I'm not talking about a low-rate mortgage here. A reasonable mortgage on a home you love is a different conversation, and plenty of people retire comfortably with one. I'm talking about the expensive stuff, the double-digit interest that eats your fixed income alive. I knew a couple who did this exactly right, and it's worth copying. In their last 2 years of work, they treated their credit card balance like a fire that had to be put out before they'd let themselves retire. Every bonus, every tax refund, every spare dollar went at it. They pushed their retirement date back about 8 months to finish the job. And when they finally stopped working, they told me it felt like the whole thing weighed less. Their monthly income hadn't changed, but with no card payment eating into it, it suddenly covered everything with room to spare. The fix is one of the most powerful moves you can make before you retire, and it's this. While you still have a paycheck, throw everything you reasonably can at the high-interest debt and knock it out. Paying off a card charging you 20% is, guaranteed, a 20% return, and there's almost nothing else in finance that's both that high and that certain. Retiring with the expensive debt already gone is like taking a weight off your chest you'd stopped even noticing. Your fixed income suddenly stretches so much further. Sign number 5 is the one nobody puts on a spreadsheet, and it may be the one that decides whether you're actually happy. It's having a detailed plan for your money and no plan at all for your time. Here's what I've seen again and again. People spend years, decades even, planning the financial side, and then they retire, and about 3 weeks in, once the sleeping in and the golf and the honey-do list wear off, a quiet question shows up. Now what? Work gave a lot of people more than a paycheck. It gave them structure, a reason to get up, people to see, a sense of being useful. And if you retire without something to retire toward, that hole doesn't get filled by money. Sometimes it even gets filled by spending, because shopping and trips become the thing that gives the week some shape, and that's hard on the budget you worked so carefully to build. This isn't soft or fluffy. It's one of the most practical things on this whole list, because a person who's bored and unmoored in retirement is a person whose finances and health both tend to slide, so the fix costs nothing, and it's honestly kind of fun. Before you retire, picture a normal Tuesday. Not vacation, a regular week. What do you do at 9 in the morning? Who do you talk to? What are you working toward, learning, building, helping with? If you can't answer that yet, that's your sign. And here's a trick I love. Take a 2-week test drive. Use vacation time to live your retirement life for 2 weeks, no work, and see how it actually feels. It's the cheapest, most honest preview you'll ever get. Now, let me talk to the folks who just listened to all 5 and thought, honestly, none of those are me. If that's you, I'm genuinely happy for you, and I want you to hear this clearly, then go. Retire. You've done the work. You have the health coverage figured out. You know your Social Security numbers. You've got a cushion for a rough market. Your expensive debt is gone, and you know what you're retiring toward. That is exactly what ready looks like, and you should walk into it with confidence and not 1 ounce of guilt. The whole point of a checklist is that passing it lets you relax. So if you passed, relax. This video was never meant to hold anyone back who's ready. It's meant to save the people who are about to leap without looking, and to reassure the people who look and realize they're standing on solid ground. Let me answer the 3 questions I expect in the comments, because they come up every time this subject does. First, what if I already retired and now I see one of these? Don't panic and don't feel foolish. Most of these still have fixes after the fact. You can still shop your health coverage, still adjust your withdrawal strategy, still attack debt, still build a routine. The signs are most powerful before you retire, but almost none of them are locked doors afterward. You just act on them now instead of later. Second, isn't this just fear-mongering to make me work longer? I hear that, and no. I have no stake in whether you retire tomorrow or in 3 years. 2 of these 5 aren't even about money. They're about health coverage timing and how you spend your days. This isn't about scaring you into more work. It's about making sure that when you do stop, it sticks and it's peaceful. Third, I'm behind on more than one of these. Can I ever catch up? Yes, and faster than you'd think, because the best tool for fixing every one of these is the thing you still have right now, a paycheck. Another 6 or 12 months of income, aimed on purpose at the weak spots, can close gaps that would take years to close after you retire. Being behind isn't a dead end. It's just information about where to point your last stretch of work. Let me shrink all 5 onto an index card, the kind worth sticking on the refrigerator while you make this decision. 1. Have a real plan and a real budget number for health insurance in the gap before 65. 2. Know your actual Social Security numbers at 62, 67, and 70 before you claim. Don't flip the switch on reflex. 3. Build a 1 to 2 year cash cushion so a bad market in your first years can't force you to sell low. 4. Kill the high-interest debt while you still have a paycheck. 5. Have a plan for your time, not just your money. Test drive it for 2 weeks first. That's the whole checklist. Not a single one of them requires being rich. Every one of them is about being ready. The scorecard for today. 5 warning signs, and the honest truth is that most people carry 1 or 2, and that's completely normal. The health insurance gap before 65. Claiming Social Security early without knowing the cost. No cushion for a bad market in the fragile first years. High-interest debt riding along. And a plan for the money, but not for the days. Each one has a plain fix, and the best time to use those fixes is while you still have income coming in. So tell me in the comments, which of these 5 hit closest to home for you, and did any of them change your timeline? I read every one, and your honesty helps the next person make a calmer decision than they would have alone. If this kind of steady, plain English money talk is useful, subscribe so the next one reaches you, and every video comes with its sources so you never have to just take my word. As always, I'm not a financial advisor, this isn't personal advice, and the figures are current as of 2025, so verify at sa.gov and with a professional about your own situation. I'm Daniel Brooks. Make your money easy to explain. And whenever you do retire, I hope you walk into it ready. I'll see you at the next one.